Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is so universally human, yet honestly, so frequently overlooked. We're talking about laughter. But listen, we aren't just talking about a polite reaction to a good joke or chuckling at a funny movie. We are really going to unpack the science, the psychology, and the deeply profound philosophy behind why laughter is, quite literally, a sacred medicine. We're going to explore exactly how it functions on physical, psychological, social, and even spiritual levels, acting as this incredible force that actually loosens the tight grip of worry in our daily lives.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. When was the last time you laughed? And I mean not politely, but freely, completely from the heart. I really want you to think about that for a second. Because as adults, we do a whole lot of polite chuckling, right? At the office, in the grocery store checkout line, making small talk. Research actually shows that kids will laugh hundreds of times a day, while we adults might only manage a tiny handful. But that deep, uninhibited, totally free laughter, the kind that makes you gasp for air, that is what we're focusing on today. It's this beautiful reminder that pain and seriousness just do not get to have the final word. So keep that memory of your last true laugh fresh in your mind as we start peeling back the layers of what is actually happening to you in that exact moment.
Okay, get this. Health writers and researchers have started using a completely fascinating metaphor to describe what laughter actually does to our biology. They call it inner jogging. I absolutely love that. Just think about it. You could be sitting there, perfectly still on your couch, totally at rest, but internally, your body is literally going for a run. Your biology is being worked out, stretched, and completely revitalized without you even moving a single muscle in your legs.
Let's break this down in section 1. Inner jogging for the body.
Drawing on some really cool insights from the Mayo Clinic, we can see the exact step-by-step biological chain reaction of a good laugh. Step 1. It immediately stimulates your heart and lungs. You're drawing in all this oxygen-rich air and actively working those vital organs just like you would during a mild cardio workout. Step 2. It relaxes your muscles. Think about how physically loose, almost like a noodle, you feel after a huge laughing fit. That physical release of tension can actually last for up to 45 minutes. Step 3, it triggers a massive release of endorphins. Those are your body's natural, built-in, feel-good chemicals that just rush through your system, basically acting as a natural mood elevator. And finally, step 4, all of this culminates in a highly noticeable reduction of pain and tension. Laughter is definitely not a trivial thing. When you really look at this process, you start to realize that laughter is quite literally a biological gift given directly to our bodies to help them heal and reset.
Moving right along to section 2, healing the anxious mind.
Health and wellness author Leanne Thiemann provides some absolutely incredible insights into how laughter acts as an anchor for our psychology. First off, it forces us completely into the present moment. Think about it. You cannot genuinely deeply laugh while simultaneously agonizing over a deadline next week. It's physically and mentally impossible. And because it forces us into the now, it lifts us, even if just for a few seconds, completely above our immediate problems. By doing that, it gives us a much larger perspective. The tunnel vision of stress just snaps, and suddenly you can see the wider world again. You realize that the thing you were agonizing over, it isn't the end of the world. And crucially, it brings us closer to others. It instantly bridges the gap between isolated minds, knocking down our walls of defensiveness and creating genuine, instant rapport.
All right, section 3. Homo ludens, the playful human.
We are all pretty familiar with the term Homo sapiens, right? The thinking being. But Pope Francis recently addressed artists from the comedy world and reminded them of a really powerful counter-concept, Homo ludens, the playful being. We so often trick ourselves into believing that our primary function as humans is just work, worry, and endless seriousness. We tend to idolize the daily grind and tie our whole identity to how stressed out we are. But this concept, it reminds us that we are equally designed for play, for joy, and for shared laughter. It isn't just some silly distraction from our true nature. It is our true nature. We are literally built for it.
Pope Francis beautifully echoes this highly relational gift with a great quote. It is easier to laugh together than alone. It's such a simple sentence, but wow, it holds profound truth. Have you ever noticed how a joke is just always funnier when someone else is in the room with you? Or how watching a comedy in a packed theater hits entirely differently than watching it by yourself on a laptop? Shared joy connects us. Laughter is basically the social glue that binds communities, families, and friends together, reminding us that we absolutely do not have to carry the heavy weight of the world in total isolation. The sociologist and theologian Peter Berger takes this insight even deeper. He states, "The comic experience can point beyond ordinary reality, a glimpse of redemption." Berger sees laughter as so much more than just mere amusement or a temporary biological high. He argues that laughter gives us a hint, a really beautiful, fleeting hint, that the brokenness, the heaviness, and the daily contradictions of life are not the ultimate reality.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, a glimpse of redemption. Now, this distinction is arguably the most important concept in our entire explainer today, so let's really break down exactly what Berger means here. What laughter is not is an escape from reality. It is definitely not toxic positivity or a denial of your suffering. Sacred laughter doesn't mean you're just willfully ignoring the terrible things happening in your life or out in the world. Instead, what laughter is a small, powerful act of hope. It's a defiant statement that basically says, yes, this pain is very real, but it is definitely not the whole story. It is a fierce refusal to let darkness and anxiety completely dictate the human experience.
And you know, when we embrace that kind of defiant hope, something beautiful happens to us holistically. The soul breathes, the heart remembers joy, the body actively participates in hope. To laugh freely is to be reminded that grace still moves through our tired, overworked, and stressed out lives. Honestly, perhaps this is exactly why a genuine, uncontrollable laugh feels so incredibly freeing. It's this total transformation where your physical body, your anxious mind, and your deepest spirit all perfectly align in a single, sudden moment of absolute relief.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the body's silent prayer.
We arrive right here, at this incredibly profound final thought. Laughter can become the body's prayer when words are not enough. Sometimes life is just way too heavy or way too complex to articulate. Sometimes literally all we can do is let out a sudden involuntary laugh of surrender, of hope, or just of sheer joy. So my challenge to you today is this. Please don't view laughter as just a distraction or a waste of time anymore. Recognize it as the sacred medicine it truly is. Go out today, find a reason to laugh, not politely but freely from the heart, and let your soul breathe. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final question to ponder. If laughter is truly a biological and spiritual necessity, how much of our daily anxiety is simply a symptom of a society that has completely forgotten how to play? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you next time.